Everyone should see my PowerPoint. If you do not see the PowerPoint, please let us know.
Okay, I don't see any questions that they're not seeing it, so, and I see it. Start recording.
Okay. All right, so we are recording this webinar so that we can post it for later use. This afternoon, we are here to talk about there we go. We're here to talk about a new state board policy. It is GCS-N-001, and it's Section 7. Right now, we are still waiting on the approval of the rewriting of 7-4. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I will talk about it a little bit. The first part is that the repeating a course for credit will refer to a high school course repeated via any delivery method when the entire standard course of studies is being taught for the second time. Also, students are permitted to repeat a course for credit when they have failed a course. Also, your local boards of education may develop policies that define specific circumstances when students other than those who fail a course may repeat a course for credit. Section 3 says you can bank your EOCs. Section 4 is the one that has been reworded. Initially, it was saying, as you can see, with students entering the 9th grade this school year, they have now reworded it and are waiting for approval for students who initially fail a high school course and repeat the course for credit upon completion of the repeated course. And the new course shall replace the previous course, previous grade for the course, and that is a failed mark that it's replacing. When a student repeats a course for credit and passes the course, the student shall only earn credits towards graduation once. So now the first step will be to set up the LEA for grade suppression. And there's several steps, and luckily guys, this is a one-time deal only. You set this up and it's usually good to go unless you have to add some schools. So let's talk about the very first part we're going to do. Beginning at the LEA level, we have to set the policy. The policy can be found going at the LEA instance to grading, and then we will click on to repeated course suppression and click onto the policies tab. We have pulled this one up. We've given it the name of the preset grade suppression policy. I went in and filled in the following information. We gave it a description because I want to call it grade suppression for failures. The next is suppression criteria. These criteria limits which historical marks will be used during the grade suppression process. Luckily, being in North Carolina, F1 means final mark across the state. So if you've got a final mark and you keep stored under F1, those are the marks that are going to apply. Now, if you've noticed, I'm going to use my mouse right here. There's a little one, allow same term suppression. We are not going to check this one simply because, as a rule, you are not going to take a course and repeat the course within that same term. You have to fail it in a term and retake it in the next. The GPA threshold for grade suppression calculation, the low threshold must be 0. If you do not sound check. Okay, we may need to do a sound check. Can everyone hear us?
If you can hear us, raise your hand. Okay, we just got a strange message on our phone, so we're going to go ahead. We may get that same message again, but seems like everyone can hear, so we're good.
Phew. Okay, sorry everyone. All right, the low threshold. This is saying that, okay, what GPA is equal or lower do you want to always replace? Well, this is a failed mark. They've earned no credit, so we're going to put it 0 here. A high threshold is if a GPA value is equal or lower than 1. You want to set it at 1 because in order to get a credit, if it's a credit there, it will not replace it, but it will replace it if there is 0 credit. We also want to use the replace grade suppression results. This is very important that all of these are checked because based on the board policy, you are going to take that failed mark and exclude it from transcripts. You're going to exclude the failed mark from GPA. You are going to exclude it from class rank, and you are going to exclude it from honor roll. This next area we aren't going into today. This is where if you decide how to replace a mark that was passed, but you want to replace it for a better mark, that is where we are going to use this particular next area. All right, on this same area where we've gone into repeated course suppression, there's another tab. We just used the policy. Now we're going to use the schools. This is where, just like when you add new courses, you're going to go hand select those high schools or the schools that include high schools because they are the only ones that this policy applies to. And you're going to put them over on from the left to the right and submit that screen. Our next one is we have to go to courses. We have to do something to all courses that will have a grade suppressed. How you choose to do this could be done all in one time or maybe at the end of each grading period where you know you have courses that you need to have this particular part filled in order for the grade suppression to work. We are going to go in and fill in maximum credit hours. At this time, they're all set at 0. You would go to your LEA. If you have a course that is 2 credits, don't ask me. Yes, the answer is yes. It must be the same thing that you have under credit hours under maximum credit hours. Okay? Once you've done this to your courses, our next step, we're still at the LEA level, we have to say which grade scale we are using within our school in order for the preset grade suppression policy to apply. Well, luckily here in North Carolina, we now have a 10-point grade scale. So now we know we're going to go to our 10-point grade scale, do our drop down, and there is the policy that we set up. And when we click onto that, and we will submit it to at the bottom to allow the change to occur. Are we questioning yet?
We just have one question. It says, please clarify, we've got 2 now. 7.4, does the course have to be failed initially in the 2015-16 school year, or does this also apply to courses failed prior to the current year?
Well, based on the board policy, it begins on the school year 2015-2016. Okay? Because they actually have it written into the policy.
Okay. And why can't NCDPI push down to the LEAs the courses information?
Good question. We will take that back.
Okay. Can you repeat step 2 about maximum credit?
Certainly. Oh, right here, maximum credit. When we're doing this, when the process actually occurs at the school, it's going to look at the student's marks, and it's going to say, oh, he's got a 50, which is a credit of 0. So when we're doing the suppression, it's going to say, all right, does this student have a credit of 1 for this course? This particular course is English 1. We're going to look at everyone who's got a final mark for English 1. Do they have a credit? If they have a 0 credit, then the process will work for them if they've retaken the course because they've got 0 when we do the process. Because, oh, wait a minute, they got a 1 now. So then it would occur. And I may be glossing over this a little bit too much, but we'll get into it and maybe it'll help understand it a little more when we're at the school level doing the process. Did I make more questions?
Can you go back to what is required for courses? And I think that's what you just, it says, do we have to create a course code specifically for individual students who need grade suppression? No.
It is the same course. In fact, the policy actually says the same course.
You just make sure that that maximum
is set at not zero.
At not zero, whatever the credit for the course should have been.
If it's zero, you will never, ever suppress that mark. All right, so now we've done course, we've set the policy, we've assigned schools, we have set the little bit of thing in courses we needed. This next step is a little tricky. For most of you, it's going to be easy. We have to set the historical grade levels for school. This is done at the LEA level under School Information tab. Typically, sorry guys. Fiddle-dee-dee. I'm so sorry. There we go. I apologize. Typically, this information is kept. A lot of times you won't even see anything in here. In order for the grade suppression to work, we have to have the historical grade levels set right here. It's said that you can view. What we're doing with this is we're saying all the students in this grade level can have the grade suppression applied to them. Let that sink in for just a minute. Guys, those of you who have grade levels that are outside the 912, you may have to possibly change this back once you have done the suppression at the end of the term. We will have to find out more for you, but in order for historical grades to be viewed, because that's what this is also working with, you might not be able to see 8th graders on the historical grades without going to the detail screen.
Would this include grade 13?
Yes, that's a good question. Absolutely. I toyed back and forth with showing 13, and I never did.
Not all schools have grade 13.
Correct. It's just a handful. So, congratulations. We're now ready to run the repeated course for credit grade suppression process. Boy, we need to rechange that. I get tongue-tied on it. So now, at the school level, let's run the process. All right, now.
For historical grades, so we cannot include 8th grade as the lowest grade. Those students are not in high school.
They are not in high school.
Even though they're taking a high school course, the student is not a 9th through 12th grader. She will check on this some more, but right now that's our understanding.
All right, now, before the process, we have, at this point, stored marks, final marks, of course. The student has failed this English class with a 41. So we have rescheduled this class into the student schedules, and the course is completed now, and we are ready now. The F1 marks have been stored. By the way, I want to repeat, your test scores can be banked from the original class if the students achieved level 3, 4, or 5. And yes, you have to hand key in those scores, and just like you do with some of the other occurrences we have. So, let's talk about this screen. This screen has so much on it. We have got, the first part of it is when we go to start, and this is at the school level, start system, repeated course grade suppression. With this checked, if you choose to check this, this means you have hand-selected a group of boys and girls to do the repeated course grade suppression process to. You can leave it blank, and it will look at all the other students. Look at all students. If no students are selected, please know that this would be grayed out. Now, if you want to filter historical grades based on the store code, and again, because of North Carolina, yay, we have F1 that you can use to pull in that store code of F1. Your term range, you can choose to use a term, for instance, from semester 1 to semester 2 would be a good example, or you can leave this blank and it will look at all. You can also do it according to a store date. You know, you can go to a student's historical grades and drill down and look at the stored date that a mark was stored. That is how you can get that. You can also just do it by a course number or several course numbers. Remember to enter a comma after each course number that you'd like to use in your suppression. When you hit Update Selections, you're going to get another screen. This next one with a little more information is going to tell you how many fields were selected. And right here we have 2 historical records selected. So then we're going to go run the repeated course suppression process. And it will actually come back and it's telling you it's running the process. It may affect other stored grades. And it comes back and tells me what I expected to see. In this instance, I did 1 student and it updated 1 student, which is what I wanted. Now, there are some messages you may get. Be sure to read your messages. If the Run Repeated Course Grade Suppression Process button will not appear if you have selected over 24,000 changes. And that's a good thing. You don't really want to change 24,000 records. So if you don't get that, chances are that is what has happened. We're going to post this, and that's one of the reasons I have some of this information. Wanted you to be aware that when you're running it, it looks to see if the grade is related to a grade scale. That's why you have to have grade scale set up. Only grades that have potential or earned credits will be evaluated. Again, remember us setting up the maximum credit based on the credits. As grades are evaluated, they are processed in groups on having the same student ID and course number. And they are processed in the oldest to newest. If stored codes are specified in the policy, then only grades with those stored codes would be evaluated. Remember, at the LEA level, we set F1. So no matter what we do, it's only going to look at our F1.
I have a question. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Actually. This person says this may be a dumb question, but what is the difference in this process and just storing the new F1 grade for the course, going to the previous F1 grade and unchecking to display on the transcript, include in the GPA, and remove the credit?
That's an excellent question. I'm going to skip ahead real quick. I want to show you this screen. You notice here, this is after the process. See my 41 and my 87. Now with my 41, it has been marked that the grade suppression code of R has been put on this record. It is an official record that this mark of 41 for English has been suppressed. Not only was it suppressed, it was excluded from the class rank, excluded from the honor roll, excluded from calculation of, and it will not appear on the transcript. And if I go back and click onto my past course, now repeated course grade details and under the grade suppression code. It also is now included on everything. And by pressing on the repeated course grade detail, I now see officially that this was a course I've taken twice, and it records the changes that occurred. You're actually making an official record of what you had done.
That way, if anything needs to be pulled as to how many grades are being suppressed or how many schools are suppressing through DPI or the state board, there's a code that they can actually go and pull that information with.
That way, if an athlete's grade has changed, let's use that, it's always in the news. An athletes whose grade has changed after second semester, well, they've got this to back them up, that yes, we used the grade suppression, they repeated the course, and now this is what's happening.
And they say, can't you enter this suppression manually? Yes, you probably can, but if you've got 75 or 80 kids that you want to suppress grades for, running that process would be a whole lot easier.
Yes, it would. It is a process. It goes out and evaluates all the information. Well, I fast forward through a lot of that right there. Back up just a little bit. But this is what the screen looks like. Now, this is going to throw you a little bit this year. I wanted to point this out, and I did flip through it really quickly. You notice how it is showing as if it were taken at the same time. It's a double mark. Once you drill down to it, you see that it was taken in 2 separate times.
Okay, got a good question here.
Okay.
What happens next school year when the course code is ended and no longer exists, but the student wants to repeat the course? Does this work with the new course code even though they haven't failed this new course? We know that DPI and curriculum never change course codes.
Ever, ever.
Yeah.
So we will address that one as it occurs. In all likelihood, and please, please, please understand this is just an opinion. There are things called course equivalency that we may have to look into. I'm not sure how we are going to handle that because the policy does say that it has to be the exact course at this time. So good question.
A kid fails English 1 first semester. He takes English 1 credit recovery the next semester. These have different course codes. Will it be suppressed? If not, how will you determine it? This is not a credit recovery course. This is a repeat of the full course.
That's right. Credit recovery.
Do not do credit recovery for this.
Credit recovery is only modules. It's part of the course. It is modules within the course. This is a whole repeat. Now, if you have students that are repeating the whole thing for credit recovery, that's not what credit recovery is about. Credit recovery is about modules of the course. But I understand that question. Y'all have heard me talk about it.
Okay, someone says the NCAA Division 1 and 2 require that the 10 core courses are locked in at the 7th semester and cannot be taken for grade improvement.
Grade improvement is not the same thing, and they are aware of, in fact, we sat down with them early fall, and it was discussed how grade suppression would affect athletes. The interesting thing is, if I failed this course, if I failed my English 1 in first semester, I set out second semester athletics. And yes, that's true. I will continue because I will have failed that course until I repeat the course next semester. When I pass it, that first semester grade will be suppressed, but as an athlete, I have set out second semester courses. If I fail it second semester and retake it next year at the beginning of the school year, again, I will have failed my fall, spring, and I can't do my fall sports.
Can a student fail an honors level course and take the same course but at a standard level and the grade suppression work correctly?
It would not be the same course number. At this time, the policy says the same course.
How many characters of that course number is used for grade suppression? Is it the first 5, first 7?
I'm not 100% sure at this point. I would say the first 7, but I will have to look into that. That's an excellent question. I do have that somewhere. Not in the room, though. I didn't know somewhere. Good question, though. Y'all have coming up with good questions.
Got another one.
And by the way, I wanted to show y'all the transcript. The transcript only printed my 87. Yay! Okay.
Okay. The NCAA requirements, Doris will check on. That's up to the NCAA. Is how are we going to prevent seniors from trying to improve the 10 Common Core courses?
And the improvement is not the same thing as a grade. Is what this is theoretically repeated course for credit grade suppression. The board allowed the LEAs the leniency of setting up their own for better marks on courses as far as that goes. You make your own policy for those, but you do have to abide by the NCAA, and I will look into that a little more for you. It's a good question.
The process. I am in June, have stored grades. How or where do I select the students, or how does the system know what students to select for the process to evaluate?
It's when you run the process, when you look at the, sorry, the phone is acting crazy here today. When you run the process, if you don't select students, it's going to look at all the students who have failed, who have 0 credits for a course that is showing to have had credits. And as long as you have set your maximum credits to the correct number, it will then analyze all of the students, whether they passed or failed. Now, if you come back with over 24,000 records, you've got a lot of failures, and you want to stop it. I would choose one of the filters to be sure that I am not going to pull in some records I don't want to pull. And we will get better with this process as time goes. This is very new to all of us, and quite honestly, it is a core functionality of PowerSchool.
How would this affect AE? F1 grades are stored as A1 or A2. Should this process be completed before AE process?
Okay, I'm going to have to go back with athletic eligibility and get some more answers from them on that one. Or don't they store it as F1 as well?
Depends. So, our question, and I think where we're running into a problem is you fail at first semester. You really cannot repeat it until second semester. You don't have that option. So your A1 is still going to be an F1 for first semester, which would then, we think, affect your athletic eligibility for second semester. But Doris will check on that and see, because the course is actually not repeated until semester 2.
Exactly, and you failed semester 1. Therefore, that student will not be part of the athletics. I think once AE decided that the student will be ineligible, they were happy with that, and I don't think we vetted it as far as we should have.
We'll check on that some more. Doris will check on that some more.
I will check on it some more.
I'm leaving this up to her. Okay. Is there a way to view what is going to be updated in the repeated course grade suppression process before we click the process button? So is there a report that will run to view it?
The only thing it's really going to tell you is how many records is going to be affected. Let me go back. It will tell you how many grades, how many historical records are selected, and then when the process is finished, it will show you how many were actually changed. But I see what you want to know, how many would be at who.
You may want to send in a request for a report to be created through the data management team that would pull some kind of information like that for you.
Sue Ann is reading my mind again. Okay. Yes, I think a SQL 4 report is where we need, probably the best way to go.
Okay, how does this process work for students that's transferring between LEAs, different course codes for the same course, the 8, 9, and 10 characters? We'll have to check on that, Nancy, because a lot of it depends on how many characters it actually looks at of the course code.
I'm hoping it's the first 4 and we're good, but that's fine.
When I am asked later to produce a list of students who have had grade suppressed, can I quickly produce this list? And that may be another SQL report that needs to be written.
I think that would be. Yes. There really is. Okay.
Okay. For a student who legitimately take a course multiple times, i.e. a conditioning class, weight training, would this process thwart that student receiving multiple credits as expected? No, because an F gives 0 credit. So this is only going to look for those courses that have a 0 credit and then has been repeated. Same course number. So if he's getting credit, it's not going to change it.
That is right. It's only changing it when it sees that a potential could be a 1, but they earned a 0. Now, if you have a student taking weightlifting, I'm going to say weightlifting. We all know that's where we're going. Weightlifting. If a student failed weightlifting and takes it second semester, absolutely it will suppress that first one. Absolutely, unless you tell it no. And all you do is just go in there and take off that. You remember, before you even ask me, let me tell you. How do you take it off? Do you remember, and I've got to find that screen, right here, you would just go in and make this blank, grade suppression code blank, and you would exclude the calculation, and then everything would come in to be included, and then it would continue on as you want it to be.
Do we only need to change the courses that are affected, or do we need to have all courses changed, all the core courses changed?
I think that's going to be up to you. I think it depends on how many courses are you looking. I personally may only do the ones that I need at the beginning and then decide how it goes the first time and then go from there. I'd like to see how things are going to run before I make my final decision.
Is there in the permanently stored grades process a checkbox, apply repeated course grade suppression policy rule? There is not a checkbox that says that in the permanently stored grades process, no.
But on that same page where you find permanently stored mark, you do your permanently stored grade, right under there you will find the process for suppressing grades. It's on the same screen.
Okay. Doris does have documentation, and we will post that along with this webinar, which has her PowerPoint on it, on the NC-SIS website. It probably will not be today.
And I do, yeah, the QRD and everything is ready. I had it ready to go. I do want to make one statement about retaking for a better mark. Based on 7.2, students are permitted based on your local board of education. They will develop the policy. Once we see a way that these policies are going to go, maybe we can help. We should be able to help you set these up. Some of this is going to require manual process, but what they would do is you're going to use the maximum credit to replace and exclude the the lower mark. Now, I do not know what to tell you if they retake the course and it's even lower than the first one, which one to choose. Please ask your board to consider that when making the policy. You do want them to have an understanding of what they're doing. Do they want to hold your potential from the course that they had the lower grade? Do you want to keep both potentials and both earned? That would have to be up to your board policy.
Has a limit been set to see how many it can pull back? We have some big high schools. So what's the number of records that it can change when it's doing the process?
Based on the number that they gave us, 23,999. And I have seen them be, whenever they tell us the maximum numbers of records we can do, I have found it blows up on that maximum number. It will not work.
Is there a limit which courses can be suppressed?
No. The only course, as long as they have the potential and earn credit and are a high school, which automatically makes them with credit, no. Any of them that have credit.
Since there's no step to verify the records between clicking run and process completion, what happens if a course is suppressed that shouldn't be? Is there a way to check or undo the process?
Yes, I've done that. Remember me telling you right here? This is where you would just basically go in under the historical grades, under the one that you did not mean to bring in. You could actually go in and tell it to let me go back to one. I'll go back to my failed one. I can tell it to include, and yes on the transcript, and I will blank out the repeated course grade detail, and it will no longer look as if it were ever suppressed. If I wanted to delete the one I brought in, I would click onto that one and, of course, delete that one out.
Maximum credits. This is why we need NCDPI to push down the 1 to the LEA courses. I could have students failed multiple courses first semester, and I wouldn't know what needed to be changed. For districts to have to go in and change it, it's a lot of manual work.
We can take this back. It may also be something that you want to bring up to, is it UAB?
UAB, CCB, yeah.
You may want to bring it up to your UAB, CCB as an action item on that part from that level, and I will bring it up from my level.
Okay. Okay, this is a good question. If the student fails the course during the first semester in a block school, does the student have to repeat the course during the second semester of the same school year, or can it be at any time in the future?
The policy does not specify when. So we are going on the assumption based on the policy that no, as long as it was failed from this year forth.
How does a course repeated for credit, failed course, differ from credit recovery?
Credit recovery is a portion of the course. When a student is taking credit recovery, they are not taking the course from beginning to end and final exam. They are taking modules that they failed. This grade suppression, they have taken course from beginning to end with the exception of EOC if they should have passed it originally. They are going to repeat the course from beginning to end, and this will suppress the mark. Credit recovery is based on the assumption that the course is not taken the entire semester. It is just a portion of it. Okay.
Yeah, someone here said, and this is true, it's part of the core product, so you should be able to search for some of this information in DDE. Yes.
That is true. You should be able to. Questions?
Hold on, I'm reading them. Some of them are repeating, so I have to scroll down.
Everybody's typing in the same question at the same time.
So this is policy. So we'll be running this the first time in the spring of 2016. Is this correct? Or does it apply for the 2015-16 school year, beginning with the end of first semester?
Well, in all actuality, unless you have 9-week courses, it would be second semester before you run this process.
Okay. Is this policy written for only certain courses? You keep mentioning core subjects, but students will repeat failed courses no matter the subject.
As long as they have a potential and earn credit, it can be repeated. Section 7.2, students are permitted to repeat a course for credit when they have failed the course.
Is it to be run at the LEA level or the school level?
Your decision. The LEA has to set up those steps first. Then the school would go in and run the process after the stored marks. I don't want to presume, because I do know that they are LEAs who store the marks for their schools. So that would have to be, you know, it's a procedure of what you had set up within your LEA.
Okay, Aaron says there is a section at the bottom of the permanently stored grades process that addresses grade suppression. We will have to look at that, Aaron, and make sure how it's working exactly, because it may not be working the same way North Carolina has intended for this to work. So we'll look at it and test that, okay?
Yes, now that he says that, I do remember there's a piece there.
We have not looked at that because that's not something that North Carolina has ever used. So we will look at that and have that vetted and tested. Okay, next question. Can a student make a D and choose to retake the course and suppress the D?
That is a local education decision, local board of education decision, right here at 7.2, where the local board of education, I know what I'm doing to make that happen, local board of education may develop a policy that defines specific curriculum circumstances where students other than those who fail a course may repeat a course for credit. That is entirely an LEA decision. But yes, you can make that policy if you so choose.
Just to clarify, I'm a senior and failed a class in 13-14. That grade cannot be suppressed or corrected.
You can take grade credit recovery, but you can't do grade suppression.
Okay, if a student takes a course multiple times before passing it, are all the previous attempts suppressed?
Yes, because you've got that 0 credit. As long as 0 credit is there, it will be suppressed.
Okay. Courses. Local electives differ between LEAs. Will this policy apply to those courses, and how will it appear on the transcript student's history?
I'm lost.
I'm kind of confused too, Cynthia. Local electives differ between LEAs. Are you talking about credit? Because if you're talking about the earned and potential credit, once you suppress the grade, all that's going to show up on the transcript is the new grade or the past grade. So we may need to look at that a little bit more. You may need to send Doris an email explaining to her a little bit more what you're talking about.
This is what I expect on my transcript if I had suppressed a grade for English 1. I suppressed my 41. This 41 is not that one. Right here in English, we've got an 87. This student has a lot of problems.
How will the NCAA or college know when courses have been suppressed?
They won't.
Will there be a new code on the transcript legend? No.
That is what this policy is about. It is to get rid of a course that was failed so that you can replace it with a course with a passing mark. And you will get rid of everything that has to do with that course. And other than historical grades, where I was showing you earlier, right here, you will never know that that 41 was suppressed.
So if they have 9 weeks grades and the student has an F1 already for 9 weeks it's failed, can they go ahead and run this grade suppression?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you're doing it, email me. Let's talk.
Okay. How does the suppression work in the scenario where a student makes a D and the local Board of Education policy says they can repeat the course?
Can they hold the potential? Do you want to count the potential or not? Will you put the old one on the transcript? We need to know more details about what your policy becomes so that we can help you do the process.
Are we required to do this process?
I'm stumped. It is a state board policy. Quite honestly, if a parent knows about it, yes, I would imagine that it's going to, the parent will tell you, I want that.
We'll check,
I did.
Yeah, we'll check for sure and make sure, yeah.
On something else. But
okay, for Doris, for the questions about the D and the local board policy, you're going to have to find out some more information for Doris. Doris, you'll find out for Doris. You know, several of the things she just asked you. Yeah.
I need to know the direction that we're looking at. I have got some processes for you, but I did not want to show all these because are we going to count it on the transcript? Are we going to count the old potential and the new potential? You know, credit recovery counts the potential. This doesn't. So what is your board going to do? That is what we need to know. Are you going to show two potentials and one earn, or two? You can only have one credit based on the board policy.
Okay. Alan has replied to the one we had about the local electives. He says, I think they mean a single course number, elective, may be repeated one course title in one district and a different course title in another district. This could easily occur. Has nothing to do with the title, has to do with the course number. So if the course number is the same, however many digits, Doris is going to find out, however many it compares to, you should be fine. Again, someone's asking about the difference between this and credit recovery. This will not wipe out credit recovery. There is a difference.
Credit recovery, you've got to understand, credit recovery is I am recovering my credit that I lost because I didn't go to the class every day, or because I goofed around during part of it and failed a module. Maybe I failed the first 9 weeks and second 9 weeks, so my parents got on me and I got all my marks up, but I still failed part of it. And so I did not pass the course. The teacher said, okay, you can retake this part of the course. I take it, I pass it, and I'm done. I'll go in, but I am still going to have the potential from that failed course counted in my GPA. This will not count it in my GPA. It will remove all traces from my transcript, from my GPA, from my honor roll. I can be on the honor roll with the grade suppression. With credit recovery, I may not make honor roll. I may over-exaggerate it a tad, but that really is, in essence, what it is. One of them replaces the course completely. The other one, we're only taking parts of the course. And credit recovery uses an XR in the course number. We're using the same course number.
The course number is the primary key for this process.
The course number is the primary key for the process. Absolutely.
Okay, let me scroll back up here and see if I see. We do understand that you need to know the number of characters that it bases this on. Doris will find that out just as quickly as she can, and I'll ask her. I started to say I'll have her, but I will ask her to put that in her PowerPoint so that when we post it, it will be available within that PowerPoint, so you'll know how many characters of the course number this looks at.
It's a valid question.
It is a valid question, and we know that North Carolina is different with their course numbers than core product, so that's why she has to check that. Core product may look at all 10 characters. We've got to determine that. Yes, any high school course that is failed that has that zero credit earned,
that's right,
can be taken for grade suppression.
And in any delivery method.
We will look into the grade suppression piece that's on the permanently stored grades and see how that works.
And I know what she's talking about now. And it's been a while since I've looked at that, so I will look at that and we will add that to the QRD if needed. Actually,
okay. It says, what about the student who fails, let's just say, a math course in school, but the only way they can repeat it is through NCVBS. thinking about TV. NCVPS, is that okay? Will the grade suppression work with that?
Yes. Particular next year, but this year this year may take a little handiwork on that one.
If the first 5 characters or 7 characters are being looked at, it means that a course could be taken as a semester course and repeated as a year-long course next time.
Yes. Because actually, when you think about it, the course number does not tell you how long a course is. That is within the expression where you set up when you set up the section, right under where you check the days. You set up the term as S1, S2, or the year strike, or 9-week strike, depending on what you got.
Again, if a student repeats a course like yearbook, semester after semester after semester, as long as they don't have an F in the F1 mark, it's not going to replace that course. It'll just continue to appear on their transcript just like it does now.
The key to this is that the course has to have earned a 0 credit to be replaced.
So if the student fails the course the second semester, how will we suppress the course? Won't it adversely affect the GPA and the class ranking?
For that year, absolutely, because they failed. They will not be able to play athletics the next semester, which will be your fall semester. They will have all the repercussions of having failed a course. However, at the end of the next semester, if they retake the course and pass it, then all of those failures will, in essence, disappear. Their GPA will magically rise. Their transcript will look much nicer, and they have the potential to be on honor roll.
In a block school, is it expected that we run this report? Oh, question's coming in. I lost my question.
Hey, when that happens.
That we run this report at the end of semester 1 and notify those students.
Oh. In other words, notifying that they have the potential, have the ability to repeat the course.
I would think you would want to notify them, but
how this is publicized to the public, that's a good question. How would you let the students know? It may be something that you want to involve the guidance counselors, because they may want to offer it to the students to have a better grade. It would be to their advantage.
Several questions here about the course length. Again, we are going to look at that and see, because we do know that we have 10 characters. The first 7 are used by the state. You've got 8, 9, and 10 that you can use, and different LEAs use different course codes for different semester lengths, different term lengths. We'll check on that. How is this grade handled if you have an FF, failure due to attendance?
They still will have a 0. Oh, and it's, in essence, it's going to treat it the exact same way, because my F1
is an FF.
Is an FF. Hadn't been asked that question, but came to me. Because again, it's based on that credit 0.
Question about the testing information. If the student fails the course but passes the test,
they can bank their scores and apply it to the repeated course. It means that teacher is going to have that information to key in as if it's a final exam.
They want to know who's responsible for telling the student and parent about this option.
It is a state board policy. I am unsure of. I just find these things out through my work, so I don't know how you would advertise the policy.
We'll check on it for you, Kay. Summer school courses are not included, correct? Another one I think we're going to have to check on.
It was not covered. It was not specifically spelled out. It basically says beginning this school year. Yeah.
Someone's asking, yes, do we need to notify the students and the parents? I would think you would want to notify the students and the parents that they have this option. I mean, this is an option to help these students out, really, and to possibly get more students on your graduation cohort, students not dropping out of school and things like that. So
it'll definitely help those dropout numbers go down when you have that option. That is really, I think, something that you need to decide. Maybe it's something you want to put out on your website.
Some people are saying they're going to put the policy in their registration guide also.
That's a great
And
thing.
We'll share with counselors in a meeting. Yeah.
And make note that it is the policy 001, Section 7. We did make a mistake. Unfortunately, we are human and we do make errors.
Sorry. Fingers in the wrong place.
That's what happens when we type to one another. One of us gets fat fingers, usually me. So we do apologize for the mix-up. But it is GCS-M-001, Section 7. I just want to put that 7 in there so bad.
Okay.
And again,
7.1 through 7.4.
That's right.
And 4 has not been approved yet.
4 is what is at the board this month. Went to the board to be approved. We discussed this and decided to go ahead with this assumption because I don't even want to think about what would be happening if we only did 9th grade.
So if there is a change to that piece, Doris will let you know.
We would have to have another webinar to discuss how to do it.
Doris has, someone's asking about the QRD. Doris has the QRD ready.
Absolutely.
We are going to wait until we find out a couple answers to the questions as far as the course links and a couple questions, so we can also include that in the QRD and this PowerPoint before we post either one of them. So do not panic if it doesn't get posted this week, because
and it is
we have trouble finding people in this building sometimes.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah. So I will make sure that it is posted by at least the 1st of next week.
And it is completed, except for the answers that we need to add to it. It is completed.
All right. Looks like, I mean, there's a bunch of questions, but a lot of them are repeat questions. I will print these out and give them to Doris so that she can put them together, get them back to me, and we'll get the answers out to you as soon as we can find them. We will post this recording, and we will post the QRD, and this PowerPoint will be posted with this recording. Okay, we got one more that just came in. Has the policy been vetted by any other departments at DPI and the information gone to other business owners?
All the business owners are aware of the state board policies, and as they come up, I do know that the Athletic Association has been involved. We talked early fall.
Okay. Someone's wanting to know, since they've already started scheduling, would a 16-17 implementation date be more effective? We have no control over that. That state board told us when to implement the policy. So you can go to the state board.
And we have been talking about this for a few months. Those of you who were unfortunate enough to have me in your LEA with scheduling, that we did discuss it occasionally on this.
If a student took a course in the summer from NCVPS, which would apply to the 15-16, and the grade was stored, and they took it again the first semester, would this process correct that? Running it now.
This past summer?
Well, they took it in after July 1 of the 14-15. So the grade is in historical with the grade of 15-16, school year 15-16.
Because it does say beginning in 2015-2016. I think I'd like to get a clarification from someone higher up on that particular summer school, because it is you do count the graduates for 15-16 if you take a course in the summer and graduate. That goes to the next year graduate. So Sue Ann and I are looking at one another trying to decide. I think that we're going to let someone make that final decision on that. Erin.
Who else knows about this policy at this time? Anybody who's involved with the State Board of Education should know about the policy.
And we've known this was coming since last winter when it first came up. So this has been something that has been talked about and has been going on. The business owners should be aware of it.
Okay.
Y'all, it's been a wonderful afternoon. I hope you have learned something. If you think of some things that you need to know, it's okay to email me in the next couple of days with questions while we're working on this QRD. I'd love to have your input on this. 3 paragraphs or less, please.
Doris loses her attention span after a third paragraph.
Absolutely. So if you do, it's doris.kids@dpi.nc.gov. I will be happy to look at what you suggest or have nice to say. Jokingly said, I love y'all. But
one more quick thing. Have the superintendents and the curriculum and instruction folks been informed?
Well, quite honestly, yes, because the person in charge of the courses, Neha, is the person who gave me the rewording of the policy. That's how I know it was reworded. I got it from her. Actually got it from her. Curriculum, so
Okay. Thank you all very much.
All right, have a great afternoon. Goodbye.